Hey, what's up YouTube? Sauce here with a new video. Today we're doing some sports stuff. We're doing card collecting 101. And it's kind of like a, how do I say, it's a card collecting for dummies, kind of, knowing your real cards. What cards are real, what cards are reprints, kind of going over stuff like that. So whenever you want to get a card, if you're looking for a certain player, you got to look at a lot of things. And some of the main things I like to look at is the, let me give you an example here. So this is a Joe Montana card. Actually, let me give you a different one. For those of you who don't know, it's Johnny Unitas. Considered, who many consider the GOAT before Joe Montana over here. And then some consider Tom Brady the GOAT. If he wins another Super Bowl, in my opinion, that's for sure the GOAT. So Johnny Unitas. So he played in the 50s and 60s. If I can, as you can see, 50s and 60s. So one thing you want to look into is the player. You want to know who the player is. You want to know most of you want to know like when did they play. So I already knew 50s, 60s. It said right there, 56 to, I can't remember when he stopped playing. I think it was like in 70. When he stopped playing, I don't know. I should have looked that up before making this, but you know, he stopped playing in the early 70s. He retired with the, I think he came back to the Colts. His last team that he played for was the Chargers in the 70s. So you want to know when they played, and then whenever you want to know like stuff like where they went to school, their number, you want to know their name, and you want to know the card itself. Like look at the card, the era they played in. You want to know the type of card that goes with the era they played in. Now this is this type of card right here, the way it looks, is replicated today with reprints. Now, I haven't seen any recently, but like a couple years ago they did some stuff like this. So when I look at the card, oftentimes if you're not sure how old it is, sometimes you need to smell it. I know it sounds weird, but you can tell by smelling it, especially with these older cards, because they're actually cardboard with not like new cards like this, like that, because the new cards are like they're weird, they're like laminated. That's how they kind of feel. So you want to look at the date it was printed. Also, whenever you look at cards, if you're looking for, if you see a player and you see for like a Hall of Fame player, let me see if I can find a better card than this one. Oh, I can't. If you find like a new card, a card that looks kind of like this, with the Bob Greasy, the chrome, that's definitely, you got to know your cards today too. It's definitely not a real card. I mean, it's a real card, but it's not an actual card for him when he played. Those are always worth a lot more. Same thing with this Brett Favre. Even though it's Donruss and there was Donruss whenever he played, you got to look at how the card is made, and then you got to always look at the back. Look at the bottom, 2016, and then also the stats should be dead giveaway, whether it's a like reprint of the player or it's an actual card. So if it shows you NFL totals and it shows you their seasons, and it looks like they have like insane amount of stats, my bad. You can see like 10,000 attempts, and then 71,000 yards, 500 touchdowns. That's not going to be in a season. And you can always tell by the player, especially Brett Favre. If Brett Favre was drafted by the Falcons and he was traded to the Packers. So even if you thought this was his rookie card, you're wrong. First off, because like I just said, he was drafted by the Falcons. And then back to this. Like I said, always look at the stats. That stats should be dead giveaways. Same thing with this one, with the Joe Montana. shows you when he was drafted, and if the total should always be at the bottom. And when you look at the date, see 1990, and you look at the stats, there should not be a 1990. Or when you look at the stats, it'll go year by year from their rookie year. Focus. You can see 79, 80 counts. It goes up, so it goes all the way to 89. And the last stat year that it actually shows should not be higher than that. Or it'll never be higher than that. But if it's a real card, it'll never be higher than that. Reprints will be they'll stop. You'll be able to tell. Also, you gotta look at the bio right here. It usually tells you about their past season compared to this one over here. Let me see, where did I drop it? Here it is. Compared to this one will tell you like a certain game. Sometimes it'll show you a certain game, and then here it'll show you about their career or a certain game that's like famous by them. Usually real cards won't do a certain game. Usually they'll do the past season, unless they're like a special card. They won't. So let's move on to a different kind of topic. If you're looking for like a player, and let's say that player has a son, or he is a son, make sure you know who you're going after. Because if you're like talking to someone, they say, oh yeah, this guy is like a Hall of Famer, and you hear the name but you're not sure, and you're looking through some cards and you see the name, you're pretty sure you heard, you better check your stuff. Because right here we have Kellen Winslow Jr., and he's the son of Kellen Winslow, who is a Hall of Fame tight end, and he revolutionized the position. He was great. Unlike this guy, not so much. Just always make sure which one you're looking for. Senior, junior, whatever. Also, if you see this and you think it's a real card, think again. Always look bio. Bio's dead giveaway most of the time along with the stats. Be familiar with the player. This came out in 1991. Does that say that? Yeah, 1991. This came out in 1991, and you can see it says he played only 8 seasons, 78 through 85. So fake, or not fake, but you know, not an actual playing card. And then also, if by any chance it doesn't have that, you'll never see an active player with a Hall of Fame thing right above their picture. You'll never see that. Also, Earl Campbell again, and the Roosevelt Leaks, both Texas alumni. You gotta look at the card. Like I said, you gotta look at how, because like the older cards will never be like this. You can see it's shiny, the reflections. Like here, this card alone is like kind of older, so 91. If you look, it's not nearly as shiny as this one. This one's newer. So, like I said, look at bio, date, and type of card. When it comes to rookie cards, same thing. Know your player, know the year they were drafted, look at the bottom of the card for the date, and then look at the bio. Simple as that. There's Ken Stabler. Do the same thing. Look at the card. And then you can look at the date, 2013. And there's no way this thing's real. 67, 2013. Nah. Also, another thing, I have Brian Orakpo here. Sorry about that. I have Brian Orakpo here. some people would like to get, like, if their favorite players on a team, especially like Johnny Unitas, he went to the Chargers. So let's say you happen to get a Chargers Johnny Unitas card. Most people don't value that as much as the team they're originally on, or they're on the longest. Like Johnny Unitas, more people value the Colts card higher than the Chargers card, and then the younger they are when the card was made, value it a little more. Same thing, Brian Arakpo. See, this was made recently, and I think he joined the team in 2015. I think that was his first year at the Titans. Yeah, first year at the Titans. Now he played his whole career with the Washington Redskins, and if you're like a Redskins fan or just NFL fan, fan of the player, you're gonna want a Redskins card. Alright, well, that was just little tips for or advice 101 for finding player cards. So I hope you enjoyed, and be sure to like, comment, and subscribe.